welcome to the official P. Coffee Brown Show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes. Listen, I'm excited for you guys to be here. You know, some of the other ladies on the project will not be present with us, but that does not mean that we're still not going to have a fantastic time.
Exactly.
Yes. So, first of all, I just want to have everybody to introduce themselves so that our viewing audience can know exactly who you are and where you actually hail from. Crystal, let's start with you.
My name is Crystal Sauls from Richmond, Virginia.
I love it.
My name is Janitra Jackson Woods from Houston, Texas.
Watch yourself. I am P. Coffee Brown, originally from Detroit, Michigan, by way of H-Town.
I'm Christy Thibodeau, and I'm from Dallas, but I live here in Houston.
That's what's up.
And my name is Monica Macias, and I was born and raised in Houston.
Come
but
on.
I currently live in Dallas.
Come on with the Dallas Ministries in the building. So we're super excited. You know, this project has had so many different meanings, but I want to kind of tap into what's really going on in our lives right now as businesswomen. Where are we? What's really happening in the business world? I think a lot of times people see the end result when it comes to business. They see the finished product, but they don't understand the process that it took to get to that finished project and what it really cost.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Monica, talk about the cost of being a boss.
You know what? The cost isn't just about your time or your effort. It's about being able to see past what's going on right now and what's going to end up in the future. So being able to see the result while being in the solution. You see that?
Yes.
Right.
So, you know, in this process, we talk about balance in the book, which is one of the biggest things that we struggle with as individuals.
Yes.
Is being able to balance family life, work life, entrepreneur life, and everything else, because nothing goes the way we expect it to go. So just being able to keep that balance and continue to persevere through it all and actually seeing the end result in whatever current situation that you might be in.
I love that. The perseverance is something that when you're doing business, you have to be clear when it comes to perseverance, that no matter what betides you, you're going to keep pushing forward. It doesn't matter what it looks like, what happens, how many hangups, how many falters or challenges or issues that you find yourself dealing with. You got to learn how to cope through that process. You know, like for me, I had an unfortunate incident to transpire, you know, in the initial time when we were supposed to be together. And just kind of coping through that process, it really took me to a place where I didn't realize that I needed to learn how to cope again.
Right.
You know, so you know how you know how to cope with this, but you don't know how to cope with that.
Right.
So it was that type situation that I had to redevelop some more coping skills to figure out how in the heck am I going to navigate through this and still get the result and still make certain that my team has their needs met in the process. Because everybody, when it comes to business, let's just face it, everybody doesn't give a darn about your delay.
Absolutely.
They don't care about your delay. You made me a promise that I was going to have this product by this date, by this time. I want my product. I don't care what your problem is. That's not my problem. I want your product, period. So talk about that, Crystal. What does it look like when the client is on that demand side, but you can't produce that demand right now?
They just gonna have to wait.
What do everybody say? Life be life.
Right.
Because you made a deposit, and we supposed to start a project, and then we can't deliver for some reason that came up unforeseen. But communication is key. So
Absolutely.
We communicate what happened and let you know that there's going to be an extension. You can get your product.
Absolutely.
You can get your service.
Absolutely.
It's going to be excellent.
Absolutely. And you know, that comes to the point where we have to have those defenders on our side, those attorneys, those administrative individuals that are on the back end that are communicating, like you said, like our VP of Communications, Grace Rich, you know, having that person to be that voice when you're not able to speak on your own behalf. And then also understanding contracts. See, a lot of people don't really understand contracts. That's the reason why everything has to be in writing in case there is something that happens where there's some kind of clause and it says, hey, it's going to be delivered by this particular date, no matter what, although we propose this particular date. And so I think it's important that we understand that as business women, when we have a product or a service that we have someone that is demanding for it to be produced by this certain time. Well, did you read that clause that's inside of your agreement, which says, in case of emergency, this is the window of time that we have to be able to produce what it is that we promised that we're going to produce. And I love what you said when it comes to the quality, the quality. And a lot of times when you push too far, you lose that edge to have the quality that you really want to have when it comes to your product or service. So JJ, talk about that. Talk about quality. What does that really mean when it comes to business? Because I don't need no quantity. I want the quality of the product or service that you promised me.
Absolutely. And it goes, for me, the quality just comes with having that trust and that relationship with my customers.
Absolutely.
With, of course, the publisher, and of course, everyone, all of our administration, to make sure that the product that which we are promoting is the quality in which each of us authors have written it, because we poured our souls out in this project, and we don't want to rush the project just because we're trying to satisfy a customer on time. We want to make sure that the quality of the project is our reputation, because we're building a brand.
Absolutely.
And we're representing that brand, and we want that brand to be the quality of which our sacrifices, our all of the things that we're trying to do in this business, persevere, giving up of our time, making sure that we try to find the balance with our families, with our work, with ourselves, doing self-care. All of those things is a part of the quality product in which we're giving our customers. So
absolutely. And that is very true, because when you talk about brand, what most people don't even think about is when it comes to branding, they're buying you. They're not buying the product or service. They're buying you. And if I purchase you, I need the best version of you that it is possible. Because at the end of the day, when you have those reviews and things like that, when someone goes to Google your name, you don't want to have a whole bunch of frailties listed because you were not able to be your best self. And you talked about that self-care and that balance and harmony. Crystal, talk about that balance and that harmony, Chrissy, that balance and that harmony when it comes to business. What does that look like?
Balance and harmony looks like everything is working and gelling into itself, into one great product, something that someone wants to repeatedly come back to.
Yes.
Everything is put into a good package that is wanting to be repeated. Everything is looking like it's top notch. It's not rushed. It is at its best at all pieces, and it takes time to curate. So all of the pieces that we've already just talked about is your best quality, and that is exactly what we want to always put out, is at that top notch piece. And again, you can't rush it.
Absolutely not.
It's just a
Absolutely
gel
not.
it all put together.
Absolutely not. And when it comes to brand relationships, cultivating those brand relationships and those partnerships, like the t-shirts that we have on right now is a result of Monica Messiah's company. One thing that we have to understand when it comes to business is how we're going to develop these partnerships that create the kind of results that we want to see happen on the big canvas, on that big screen, when others see us showing up. Like when we walk through the mall today and all of us are in harmony with our attire on, and they looking like, well, who is Boss's Babes in Business? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Exactly.
It's a community of women who decided to lay out that plan of action that we took to get to the results that we're experiencing now. And so one thing that we all have to understand when it comes to business, especially those that are aspiring to be business people, aspiring to create brands, is you have to know who you're going to have in your corner. Having somebody to lean into is going to be important. Now, I'm not talking about the copycat syndrome. For those out there who think that you're going to copy the right cat, no, I need you to have your own creativity. It is dangerous to be copying any cat. Now, you can take bits and pieces from different scenarios to get to a creative space, but you've got to tap into who you are and who you have been created to be in your own internal being to become that brand that people want to deal with, that brand that people want to have that experience with, that brand that people want to come back to and say, hey, I had a piece of pea coffee. I want another piece of that pie. I had a piece of Chrissy Thibodeau. I want another piece of that pie, and so on and so forth. So one thing that is going to be imperative that we all lean into, and definitely chime in, ladies, when you're ready, is understanding what is the self-care. What does self-care really, really mean? What does it mean to care for you? One thing that I think about when I think about that term is when I look from a biblical stance, and not to get preachy as a preacher,
It's okay.
but in the biblical stance, when you look at what it says, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yes.
So who is thyself?
Ooh, that's a good
Who is thyself?
Your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is thyself, and what does thyself actually look like? When you think about in the morning when you rise, how you appear to everyone else is thyself. How can I love somebody? How I love myself, how I take care of my temple. How can I add value to somebody else's temple? Not necessarily in the same capacity, but with the same level of intensity, the same level of care and concern. And I think that we as women have a struggle sometimes with that, taking care of our self concept between the husbands and the babies and all the other obligations that we have, maintaining a stellar household and things like that, and tending to all the external forces that we have to address. So what does that self-care look at like? Ladies, anybody can chime in.
So self-care for me, this right here is a part of self-care for me because I'm in a transitional period. And as I stated with you guys, this transitional period is a vulnerable period with me, but my community stepped in and gave me the support to reestablish my foundation. And so now I feel, like I can scaffold off of that foundation that I've established with this community of ladies. And so, like I said, the self-care for me was my mental state. And in this transitional period. And that goes on with me being able to forge forward and promote and be there publicly for my customers and to be able to talk about what we're going through. And it just shows what we do in our book, shows the balance of, even though life is lifing, I'm still moving forward.
Right.
And I have my community to support me. And so I can be reassured when I'm out there that I can put my best foot forward. And I can do it with the confidence, knowing that if I fall, I got some girls, some ladies that's going to hold me up, that's going to, give me the information that I need to maybe do what I need to do on social media, or you need to promote this way, or you just need to take care of yourself and go sit down somewhere so that we can keep going on. Self-care also means to enjoy myself. And so in this process, I think we've laughed so much and had so much fun, together as a community and talking about the book and the project and looking at each other's perspectives that we shared. And we have some similarities, and there were some aha moments that we shared that gave me wind underneath my wings to say, hey, I can keep going. She did that. I can keep going.
That's what I was thinking, that reassurance of purpose. Because sometimes I think we forget about our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing. Because our first conversation that we had was understanding and being reassured that we're walking in the path that we're supposed to. And sometimes we get off of that path. And we get that unsteady feeling because it feels a little weird. And when we got back together, it was like, oh, God's talking to you. He's talking to you, and you're getting on shaky ground. Get yourself back on your path. So getting that reassurance of purpose when you have those people that are behind you, and even when you wake up in the morning and you're just saying, hey, make sure you're living in your purpose. Because that living in your purpose a lot of times will help you walk through your day. It'll help you make sure that you're making those right decisions, and it gives you peace because it gives you discernment on what's, and you're clear on what you're really supposed to do, what you're really supposed to say. And when you start getting that unclear feeling, that shakiness in what you're doing, all of a sudden you're like, well, you know what? I probably should step back and pray on that.
That's it.
Step back and pray on that.
Yeah.
That's not where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and step back and get myself on track.
Yeah.
So again, and like we said again, laughing.
Yeah.
We forget to laugh.
Yeah.
We forget to laugh. We get so serious a lot of times, so we forget to laugh. And I find myself trying to enjoy a lot of things in life and smile about things in life, because life be life.
Right.
Life be life. And
Yes.
and we get bogged down with so many serious things, and we forget to see the enjoyment of the things that are around us, the things that we can smile about.
Right.
And there are things, if we start looking for the positives that's around us and stop looking for the negative things that are there, because you can always find something negative. Right?
Absolutely.
If you start looking for the positives that's there, you find yourself enjoying a lot of things.
That's
So
true.
that is a self-care thing that I try to always do. And people will walk around and say, you're always smiling, you're always in such a good mood. That's because I look for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I work for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if I don't,
Oh, it's gonna be something to be
it's
negative for.
gonna-
Oh yeah,
there's
it's always something to be
negative
negative
around
about.
me at all
Yeah,
times, but
absolutely.
I try not to worry about that because God's got me, and I'm
Amen.
working in my purpose, and I'm working and
Amen.
walking where I'm supposed to be.
Success is a transitional period.
Exactly.
Yeah, always.
Crystal, your transitions really helped a lot with, just going through those transitions and Koffe, on the administrative and the business side. Every time we get to another plateau of success, you have us to revisit and then expand on what
Right.
we've already. Yeah, exactly.
And then being our sister's keeper.
Right.
That's another form of self-care
Right.
with
So,
non-judgment. Because, we had some, like when we were talking on yesterday, there were some things that we could not disclose publicly, about where
Right.
everybody is or what's going on and where they are as far as their personal lives are concerned in conjunction with the business. Okay. This is not something that's for the public. So as my sister's keeper, that is another thing of self-care. Because if I were to be naked, I don't want somebody to just say, oh, you naked, let me just leave you unclothed.
Right.
Absolutely.
No,
Right.
cover
Absolutely.
me, cover me,
Yes.
cover that
Yes.
part of me
Yes.
where it could literally cost me everything if somebody in the public knew about it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But even then,
Yeah.
if it did get out into the public, I
Still my
cover
sister's,
you.
Right.
still my sister's keeper.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that what happened was right or was wrong.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that's still my sister.
Absolutely,
and I'm gonna cover her.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Because I'm not gonna leave her out to the
Yeah.
wolves because
Right.
because I have this particular information, and then understanding too that no matter what is happening, I am going to stand on the side of truth.
Right.
Whatever
Right.
truth is, I'm gonna stand on the side of truth, and I'm always going to walk in integrity. I'm always going to walk in a space of understanding and knowledge, to where whenever something does show up, whenever something does manifest, whenever something does go awry, I will still be walking in that space of integrity and truth. Always walking in that space of it. And when I'm covering my sister's nakedness, I'm not saying that I'm not going to have to deal with what she did that was not
Right.
attractive and that was not fluid and that could have cost her everything. Oh, we're going to address this issue, but we're not going to address it to where the public knows
Absolutely.
what
Right.
actually happened with my
Absolutely.
sister.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's important for us to be able to do that. And that's one thing that we are learning and constantly developing within our community is that, hey, listen, we're building this bridge so we can always go back and forth. We're not building this bridge with the intent of there being no fire in the middle where somebody can't get safely back across if they need to cross back over. And that's something that's important when it comes to building relationships business wise. And when it comes to having businesses, we got to have advocates. We got to have people that are in our corner that can help us to sustain. Like one of my business partners a couple weeks ago, she was like, hey man, I got to handle this affair right now. If I don't have this money into this creditor by today, it's going to cost me so much that I'm afraid it's gonna cost me too much. Can you send me this, that, and the third? Heck yeah. Bam, sent. That's all. You didn't even have to tell me all that. You bam, sent.
That's favorite.
And that's how that you got to have that with business, because as entities that are growing in enterprise, it takes time to foundationally build your finances to be able to launch into that deep place. Sometimes you're going to end up on the shallow end for a significant amount of time. And it's a lot of times it's longer than you want to be on the shallow end.
Right.
But in order to lodge into the deep, you got to be able to deal with the shallow, because if you get into the deep too quickly, you are going to drown. Next thing you know, the thing that baby that you've been cultivating and developing over time gets destroyed, because now you literally have gotten that baby out there way too far. It's one thing to throw the baby on the side of the pool that's 3 feet. Right. But it's another thing to throw that baby on that 6 and 9 foot side of the pool. And if that baby cannot swim and doesn't know how to wade that water, that baby is going to drown. And it's so important that we treat our businesses like that baby, to significantly know, hey, I'm gonna have to keep this baby on this nursing level a little bit longer, and then maybe this baby needs to crawl. No, you don't start running now. You're gonna have to walk it out first, and then you can run into that next step, into that next level. And so self-care is a part of all of that process, making sure that we're doing all the little building blocks and covering and making sure we're taking the kind of care that lets others know that they can trust us. Because if I look at you and you looking just, 3 ways of Sunday, you're like, what girl, what? How, you left the house like that?
What happened?
What happened to you when you walked out the door like that? What in the ham fat is going on with you? So I can't say that you're gonna take care of me because you're not taking care of you. But then again, I got to figure out why you're not taking care of you.
Well, just like they say on the airplanes, you got to put on your mask first.
Absolutely.
Put it on your job.
Absolutely.
You always have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Had to learn that.
Yeah.
Because I used to try and put it on everybody else before I put on my own.
Yeah.
And I cannot fill anyone's cup if my cup is empty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's nowhere to go from.
Right. And I was going to say for self-care, I was always thinking healthcare. It's like, it's okay to go to the doctor or holistic somebody and get some blood work done and see what's going on internally. Because all this stuff we're talking about, if you don't have that self-care, you're going to start going down internally.
Right.
And then you're going to have a real issue.
Right.
Because you're not going to be able to do nothing else till your health get in order.
Right.
So you got to take time out to get all that balance.
Right. And that's important for women anyway, especially a maturing woman, because you get to the space in your life where you're starting to develop into a different entity. You're stepping out of one person and into another person. And as you're doing that stepping stone, somebody has to intercede and intervene. Because when you talk about medical stuff, at the age that we are, this young, beautiful age of young youthfulness that we're at, it requires a lot of attention. And sometimes it's more attention than what a medical practitioner would suggest to us would be the amount of attention that we really need in order to sustain ourselves. Because, when we were talking about going through perimenopause and all those kind of things, it's a crazy time in a woman's life. It's just absolutely bananas. You don't know who you are from Monday to Thursday. You're like, I thought I was me Monday. Then Tuesday afternoon, I was this lady. And then by Wednesday morning, my husband was like, I'm going to need you to go. Yeah, I'm going to need you to tell me who that lady was that was here Monday and tell her to come on back. Because I need to talk to her again. And so, but it's not anything wrong with that. It's a part of the process. However, like you said, if I'm not having somebody in a medical field to substantiate my situation, I won't have a buy-in from those around me. So a lot of times we got to make sure that we're plugged in to that system to be able to be okay. Because you got to be plugged into somebody.
Right, because there are certain things that because as we were talking about it even when we were in the car, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Other people had that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a hot mess. It's a whole vibe. Yeah, it's a whole vibe.
And the word that comes to me is connectivity.
Yeah.
There are times that we do get busy and our lives are chaotic and we don't know if we're coming or going. But it's nice sometimes, like when I look up and Chrissy has sent me a message or you sent
somebody said something. Yeah.
And it gives me that moment to sit down and say, okay, let me just exhale for a moment and slow down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's
do,
necessary.
yes, it's so necessary
Yeah.
with the self-care.
Yeah.
But also, it lets me know that, hey, somebody else out there cares about me.
Right.
And we're doing the same exact thing.
Right.
But she cares enough to reach out to me.
Yep.
And we're connected to each other in a sisterhood, but we're also connected to each other with the brand,
Right.
the book,
Yeah.
but our own individual brands.
Absolutely.
And so just having that community and that connectivity,
Right.
it is so important and so vital
Mhm.
for us to do what we do every day.
And to understand when it's time to step back.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
And lay on the couch with a comforter.
Listen.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, and not even from a bigger picture, a lot of times because, and this is making me get a little emotional, because somebody else in our family did not do a certain thing, we feel like we got to pick up all this stuff and then put it on our shoulders and carry it. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
It's not our cross to bear, So it's like the situation that Saul, when he dumped all that on David, David was like,
Yes.
I can't wear none of this stuff.
None
This
of
stuff
it.
don't even fit
It
me.
don't
It's,
fit me.
it's not who I am. It's not my nature. And a lot of times if we haven't discovered who we are, then we try to take on what my mama didn't do, what my grandmama didn't do, my aunties didn't accomplish it. I feel like I got to do this because if I don't do this, they're going to say I didn't do. It's like when my grandmother passed away, I remember my aunt distinctively saying to me, well, the baton is yours. I said, oh, no, the hell it ain't. I didn't ask for that, and I don't want it. You can't put that weight of responsibility on somebody and expect them to step up to a plate where they didn't even know they had a bat. I don't have a bat for this plate. You making me get up here to hit a ball in a park that I don't even understand. This is not my weight of responsibility, and we got to stop doing that. That projecting onto the next generation that you got to do this because Uncle Johnny, they didn't do it, so we got to. No, I do not. I got to choose my own path and my own journey, and if I make the decision to say I want to do this accomplishment because I do want to create a new legacy, and I won't even use that generational curse stuff. It's the creation of a new legacy and a new identity. Because everything is not a curse. Just because you got 5 generations of women that chose to be wives and mothers, that doesn't make it a curse.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So a lot of things that we have said were curses, they're not curses. They were the blessings of that generation and the choices that they made based on the information that they had and the buy-in of what they chose to do. Now, if somebody comes back and says, well, I really would have liked to have done that, then sometimes it does drop a seed inside your soul to say, you know what, I really would have liked to get on the other side of that. So when I went to school, it was not only for me, it was for my mom, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and then for my own daughters to bridge that gap to create a new legacy for them to tap into for a new experience. And it's because when I heard that over and over again, it just dropped that seed in my soul to say, hey, no matter how much older you are, then you feel like I should have did this a long time ago. No, do it because you have the ability to do it now and knock that thing out.
Knock it out.
And you made that choice to do that.
Exactly. And it wasn't forced.
Yes.
Right.
It goes like the conversation we were having last night when we were talking about purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
And to be able to hear his voice.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's not always where we're supposed to take that torch and go and run with someone else's dream, someone else's vision, because God gives us our own dreams and our own visions to walk in purpose as designed by Him. And just because it didn't happen, may be delayed, but not denied.
Exactly. And that's another thing about purpose that we have to learn how to tap into is that sitting quiet enough and still enough to ask the question and hear the answer. Because sometimes the answer is in something so simple as you might be sitting there watching TV and you go, oh my God, that's my purpose right there. Oh, it just dawns on you that, oh man, I can, that's something I can really, oh man, I can really do that. And it does something to you because you can feel it.
Right.
And you can feel when it hits you. And when it hits you like a ton of bricks. and you cannot live without that thing.
That
You just
deep
can't live
down
without
You'll
it.
never be
Yeah, it
comfortable.
just,
So you feel
and it comes back to you.
Mhm.
No matter how long you delay it, that thing, it'll keep coming back to your mind. That thing will, it's almost like a homing device.
It's in your soul.
Yeah, it's deeply rooted and it's embedded, and we have to walk away from the fear of doing whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's such a great fear attached to it because it's going to be an exposure.
And remember,
Somebody
it's a
gonna
journey
be,
and
right,
not a race.
Right. It's going to be some kind of an exposure, even if it's like, I got to expose myself to the whole world, or I got to expose something that happened within our family that was something very, very intimate. But now here it is, like you were talking to the guy about publishing the book, and the guy was like, oh, I can't tell all my daddy information,
Right.
but at the same time, he was saying, I do need to make sure that
Absolutely.
I share his
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
But
Hundreds of miles
the
away.
parts of
Absolutely.
the parts of the story that are dirty
Mhm.
is what makes the story pure.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not- There you go. That with the cover up is the part that you have to be unashamed of. But we have to grow to that place, and that goes with. Sometimes it's called couch conversations. It's called a psychiatrist, psychologist.
But that's
Self-care.
the needed part.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the
Yes.
needed part.
Yes.
That's the learning
Yes.
part.
Yes.
When-
It's still self care.
even when I'm teaching my students at school, I say, it's funny how we have these characters in these stories, and the character really doesn't learn anything until they actually hit that problem
Right.
and they
Right.
experience that problem.
Right.
Their parents or whatever in that story is telling them over and over again, but until they hit that wall, they hit that problem that makes them feel or hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they start to learn.
Yeah.
That's when that behavior changes. And that's the same thing with the guy that need that dirty part.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's needed.
Right.
That's the part that needs to be talked about. That's the part that needs to be exposed, because people do not understand until they hit that dirty part.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
when behaviors change.
Absolutely.
Not when
Absolutely.
the talking happens,
Right.
but when the experience happens.
Right. Right.
That's that
Yes.
part.
Yeah.
And that just brings something to me into my heart, because the other day on one of my videos I talked about just being able to open your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is keeping you from testifying to that juicy stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Because that juicy stuff you don't want to share. That's that stuff that you are afraid of how
Yeah.
somebody's going to respond to
Mhm.
you, or how they're going to think of you
Mhm.
after you share it.
Mhm.
That is the thing.
Mhm.
It is that testimony that
Mhm.
will deliver someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need that.
Yeah.
It's not about
Yeah.
what people or how they're
Yeah.
going to respond to me.
Yeah.
It's how's
Yeah.
that person how's it going
Right.
to change their life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
gonna keep missing.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I
But
share
that's when we start
when
building our solutions, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very true.
Can I share, when we all submitted our chapters for the book, none of us knew what was going to be in there. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And so when I got into the book and started reading everyone's journey, I could see things that were relative to my life, or things that were relative to something I went through in the past, or things that I'm currently going through. And it just gave me, exactly what I needed to say, exactly what we've been saying, that community. We're all experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
And we all have the same end result
Absolutely.
in mind.
Yeah.
And how do we navigate through this journey?
Yeah.
And we just shared in the book, which is a phenomenal book, how we're navigating with being in business and having that balance.
Yeah. 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 Man, this has been wonderful. I'm super glad and grateful for everybody just coming to be a part of this conversation today. I appreciate you guys so much, and I definitely look forward to many more conversations. And for the viewing audience, if you want to grab that book, you can go to Amazon.com, or you can connect directly with any of the writers on the project to be able to grab a copy of this brand new international best-selling, hit all 7 continents publication, Bosses, Babes in Business. God bless, and we'll see you on another edition of the P. Koffe Brown Show.